The most dangerous person in your life is not the one who betrayed you. It is the version of you that keeps reopening the wound to check if it still hurts. Because pain enters once, but suffering only survives when you keep feeding it. Today, I will show you how to stop feeding it. The next person who tries to hurt you is not the real danger. The real danger is the part of you that still believes their words are more powerful than your own awareness. Listen carefully, because once you understand this, insult will lose its teeth, rejection will lose its chains, betrayal will lose its poison, and the old wounds you carry, like hidden stones inside your chest, will no longer decide how you breathe, how you walk, how you love, or how you see yourself. Most people spend their whole life trying to make the world softer. They beg others to be gentle. They hope people will understand them. They wait for apologies that never arrive. They replay conversations at night, asking, why did they say this? Why did they do that? Why was I not enough? Why did I trust them? Why did I not see the sign earlier? And while the other person is sleeping peacefully, you are the one still sitting in the burning house, holding the match they dropped days, months, sometimes years ago. This is the first truth. No one can keep hurting you without your participation. They may cause pain. They may speak sharply. They may leave, betray, laugh, ignore, misunderstand, accuse, or abandon. But the second arrow, the arrow that stays, the arrow that repeats their voice inside your head, the arrow that turns one moment into a prison, that arrow is often held by your own hand. This is not blame, this is freedom. Because if your hand is holding it, your hand can also put it down. Do not rush past this. Sit with it. Feel how uncomfortable it is. The mind wants to say, no, they did this to me. Yes, they did something. But what are you doing now? Are you feeding the wound with memory? Are you sharpening the insult by repeating it? Are you protecting your pain like it is proof that you mattered? Sometimes we do not heal because the wound has become our evidence. We think if we let go, then what happened becomes acceptable. But letting go does not mean the action was right. Letting go means you stop allowing the action to rent space in your nervous system. A person can throw mud at your clothes. That is unpleasant. But if you pick up the mud every morning and rub it back into your skin, who is continuing the act? The world may touch you once. Your mind may touch you 1,000 times. This is why training the mind is not decoration. It is survival. It is the inner gate. Without it, anyone with a careless tongue can enter your temple and break your peace. With it, even the loudest insult stops at the door and finds no one inside willing to receive it. You say, but words hurt. Yes, words can cut when they enter the place where you already doubt yourself. If someone calls the sky dirty, the sky does not tremble. If someone calls the mountain weak, the mountain does not shrink. But if someone calls you unworthy and a secret part of you still fears it may be true, then the word becomes a blade. So the work is not to control every mouth. The work is to remove the hidden agreement inside you. Look deeply at what hurts you most. It is often not what was said. It is what you feared it confirmed. One person ignores your message, and suddenly you are not simply waiting for a reply. You are 10 years old again, hoping someone will choose you. One person criticizes your effort, and suddenly you are not receiving feedback. You are back in the old room, feeling small, feeling watched, feeling never enough. One person leaves, and suddenly you are not experiencing loss. You are meeting every abandonment you never processed. This is why the wise person does not ask only, who hurt me? The wise person asks, where did this enter me? Through which door? Which belief opened? Which fear answered? Which old wound woke up and said, I know this pain? When you find the door, you begin to become free. because then the next person may knock, but the door is no longer unguarded. If you want no one to ever hurt you again, do not become cold. Many people misunderstand strength. They think strength means feeling nothing. They build walls and call it healing. They become suspicious and call it wisdom. They stop trusting and call it maturity. But a heart that cannot be touched is not strong. It is trapped. A closed fist cannot be injured easily, but it also cannot receive anything. Real strength is not the absence of feeling. Real strength is the ability to feel fully without becoming a slave to what you feel. The river feels the stone, but it does not become the stone. The sky receives the storm, but it does not become the storm. The mirror reflects every face, but it keeps none. This is the training. Let the feeling pass through you without letting it write your identity. Pain may visit. Humiliation may visit. Anger may visit. Sadness may visit. But you do not build a house for every visitor. The moment you say, I am broken, you turn an experience into an identity. The moment you say, I was betrayed, therefore I cannot trust, you turn one person's limitation into a law for your future. The moment you say, people always hurt me, you invite your mind to search for proof. Be careful. The mind is a faithful servant to whatever command you repeat. Give it a prison, and it will decorate the bars. Give it freedom, and it will begin to search for the key. Someone hurt you because they acted from their level of consciousness, their fear, their ignorance, their desire, their emptiness, their lack of discipline. But your suffering grows when you make their level of consciousness the measure of your value. A person who cannot see gold does not turn gold into stone. Their blindness does not change the nature of what they fail to recognize. Remember this when you feel rejected. Many people do not reject you. They reject the responsibility of seeing clearly. You have been carrying pain that does not belong to you. Some of it was handed to you by people who never learned how to hold their own. They gave you their anger because they could not digest it. They gave you their shame because they could not face it. They gave you their silence because they were afraid of truth. They gave you their chaos because they did not know peace. And because you were sensitive, you absorbed it. Because you cared, you tried to understand. Because you wanted harmony, you blamed yourself. But compassion without boundaries becomes self-abandonment. Understanding someone does not mean giving them permission to keep wounding you. You can see why a snake bites and still not place it against your heart. You can understand why someone is cold and still step away from the winter. You can forgive the fire and still stop putting your hand inside it. This is where many people become confused. They think forgiveness means returning to the same table, answering the same messages, reopening the same door, pretending the same knife is now a flower. No, forgiveness is internal release. Access is earned. Forgiveness says, I will not poison myself with hatred. Boundaries say, I will not offer myself again to the same pattern. Both can live together. One cleans the heart. The other protects the life. You must learn the difference between pain and damage. Pain is a sensation that rises in the body and mind. Damage is what happens when pain becomes your teacher without your permission. Pain says, this hurts. Damage says, this will always hurt. Pain says, I lost something. Damage says, I am lost. Pain says, someone left. Damage says, everyone will leave. To be free, you must interrupt the translation. You must stop the mind from turning a moment into a prophecy. When someone speaks to you cruelly, pause. Do not react at the speed of your wound. The wound is fast because it has been practicing for years. Awareness is slower at first, like a young tree in wind. But if you pause, even for one breath, you create a space. In that space, Your old self wants revenge, defense, explanation, collapse. In that space, your trained self whispers, wait, see clearly. Is this true? Is this useful? Is this mine? Is this worth my peace? Most hurt continues because people react before they observe. Someone sends a cold message and you send your dignity after it. Someone raises their voice and you hand them your center. Someone disrespects you and you try to prove you deserve respect to someone who has already shown they do not know how to give it. This is like asking a dry well to quench your thirst. The wise person does not argue with an empty well. The wise person moves toward water. Do not make your peace dependent on another person's understanding. This is one of the strongest chains. You think, I cannot rest until they understand what they did. I cannot move on until they admit it. I cannot heal until they apologize correctly. But then your freedom is placed in the hands of the very person who wounded you. You wait outside their locked door with your healing in a begging bowl. Why would you give them that power? Sometimes they will never understand. Sometimes they understand and still will not say it. Sometimes their ego is stronger than their honesty. Sometimes their version of the story protects them from seeing themselves. Let them keep their version. You do not need their confession to become whole. A scar does not need the knife to apologize before it closes. Your nervous system may not believe this yet. It may still shake when you see their name. It may still tighten when you remember their voice. This is not weakness. This is the body trying to protect you based on what it learned. Be patient with your body. Do not insult your own healing. You cannot punish yourself into peace. You cannot shame yourself into strength. Sit with the body as you would sit beside a frightened child. Speak gently, breathe slowly. Say, we are safe now. That moment is over. We do not live there anymore. There is a training hidden in every hurt. Not because suffering is beautiful, but because awareness can use anything. Betrayal can teach discernment. Rejection can teach self-belonging. Criticism can teach humility without collapse. Loneliness can teach inner friendship. Loss can teach impermanence. Disrespect can teach boundaries. But only if you stop asking pain to be fair and begin asking it to be useful. Do not waste pain. If it came, learn from it. If it broke something false, thank the breaking. If it showed you where you were attached, study the attachment. If it revealed a person's character, believe the revelation. If it exposed where you abandoned yourself, return there and pick yourself up. Pain that is observed becomes wisdom. Pain that is repeated unconsciously becomes personality. Some of you are not protecting your heart, you are protecting your story. You say, I am the one who always gets hurt. I am the one people use. I am the one who gives too much. I am the one who is never chosen. But notice, even a painful story can feel safe because it is familiar. The unknown freedom frightens you more than the familiar suffering. So you keep choosing what confirms the story, then call it destiny. Today, interrupt it, not loudly, not dramatically, not with a post, not with an announcement, not with a performance of healing. Interrupt it in the small private moment where the old pattern asks for your obedience. When the urge comes to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, breathe and choose silence. When the urge comes to chase someone who enjoys being chased, breathe and choose stillness. When the urge comes to replay the insult for the 20th time, breathe and return to the present. This is how a new life is built, not in grand declarations, but in invisible victories. You cannot be hurt in the same way once you know who you are. This sounds simple, but it is rare. Most people know their name, their job, their face, their preferences, their wounds, their history. but they do not know the awareness beneath all of it. They think they are their thoughts, so every thought becomes a command. They think they are their emotions, so every emotion becomes the weather of their whole life. They think they are their reputation, so every opinion becomes a judge. They think they are their past, so every memory becomes a chain. Sit quietly and look, a thought appears. You notice it. Therefore, you are not only the thought. An emotion rises. You notice it. Therefore, you are not only the emotion. A memory returns. You notice it. Therefore, you are not only the memory. An insult echoes. You notice it. Therefore, you are not the echo. You are the one aware of the echo. This recognition is the beginning of invincibility. Not invincibility as the world imagines it. Not never crying, not never caring, not never feeling heartbreak. Invincibility means nothing outside. You can permanently steal your inner seat unless you leave it. People may disturb the surface. They may create waves, but they cannot own the ocean. They cannot become the depth. When you know yourself as depth, surface storms lose authority. A person who insults you is giving you information about their inner climate. A person who lies is showing their relationship with truth. A person who betrays is revealing what desire can make them sacrifice. A person who mocks is exposing the poverty of their compassion. Why would you take their behavior and turn it into your identity? If a dog barks at the moon does not come down to argue. It continues to shine. This does not mean you become passive. Do not confuse peace with weakness. Peace can say no. Peace can walk away. Peace can end the conversation. Peace can block the number. Peace can leave the room. Peace can file the complaint. Peace can speak the truth directly. But peace does not lose itself while doing so. That is the difference. Reaction throws the sword with shaking hands. Response holds the sword with clarity. Before you speak from hurt, ask yourself, am I trying to be understood, or am I trying to make them feel what I felt? Am I seeking truth, or am I seeking control? Am I expressing a boundary, or am I begging for a different character from the same person? These questions save years of suffering, because many arguments are not attempts to solve anything. They are attempts to force another person to become someone they are not ready to be. You do not need to hate people to leave them behind. Hatred is still a rope. Anger may help you stand up, but it cannot be your permanent home. If you live there too long, the person who hurt you becomes the architect of your inner world. You begin choosing based on them, speaking based on them, distrusting based on them, proving based on them. They are gone, but you are still serving their shadow. Freedom is when your next step is chosen by wisdom, not by the wound. You may remember what happened, but it does not decide everything. You may recognize danger, but you do not see danger everywhere. You may have boundaries, but your heart is not buried. You may be cautious, but you are not closed. This balance is the art. One day, someone will say something that used to break you, and you will notice it lands differently. It still touches, but it does not enter. It still makes sound, but it does not become law. You will feel a small space inside yourself, a quiet room that was not there before. In that room, you will not need to attack or collapse. You will simply see. This is the moment training becomes real. The world teaches you to strengthen the image. Make the image impressive, then no one can hurt you. Become successful, beautiful, rich, admired, desired, feared. Then you will be safe. But this is false safety. The stronger the image, the more terrified you become of anyone scratching it. If your peace depends on an image, every opinion becomes a weapon. The real work is not to polish the mask. It is to know the face before the mask. What are you without applause? What are you without the relationship? What are you without the approval? What are you without the role you play for others? What remains when the world misunderstands you? If you can sit there and not run, you begin to meet the one who cannot be hurt in the old way. Not because life cannot touch this one, but because this one does not need the world to constantly confirm its existence. Much of your pain comes from outsourcing your worth. You hand pieces of yourself to people and say, please hold this carefully. But not everyone has clean hands. Then when they drop it, you feel shattered. Take it back. Take back the peace you gave to the parent who never praised you. Take back the peace you gave to the lover who chose convenience over honesty. Take back the peace you gave to the friend who only valued you when you were useful. Take back the peace you gave to the crowd, the comment, the comparison, the old mistake. Gather yourself. No one can protect what you keep giving away unconsciously. Every time you need someone to approve of you, before you can breathe, you give away the key. Every time you need someone to regret losing you before you can move on, you give away the key. Every time you need someone to treat you fairly before you can treat yourself with respect, you give away the key. Take the key back, not with anger, with remembrance. You may ask, how do I take it back? Begin with attention. Attention is life energy. Whatever you feed with attention grows roots. If you keep watching their life, checking their messages, replaying their words, imagining what they think, you are watering the tree of attachment. Do not say you want peace while feeding disturbance every day. Your practice must be honest. Remove unnecessary contact with what keeps reopening the wound. Not because you are weak, but because healing requires an environment. A seed does not become a tree by being dug up every morning to check if it is growing. Give your peace a chance to grow without constantly exposing it to the same wind that broke it. Then train the body. Hurt is not only in the mind. It sits in the chest, stomach, throat, jaw, shoulders. When you think of them, the body reacts before philosophy arrives. So breathe into the body. Walk slowly, stretch, sweat, sit upright, place the feet on the ground, relax the jaw, lengthen the exhale. Teach the body that memory is not danger. The mind understands through insight. The body understands through repeated safety. Every day, practice not reacting to small discomfort. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Breathe. Someone speaks sharply. Breathe. A plan changes. Breathe. A message is delayed. Breathe. The weather is hot, the line is long, the noise is loud. Breathe. This is not small. This is the dojo. If you cannot meet small irritations with awareness, how will you meet betrayal, grief, humiliation, or loss? The warrior is trained in ordinary moments before the battle arrives. Pain reveals where you have no inner discipline. This may sound hard, but it is a gift. When one sentence ruins your whole day, it shows you the place that needs training. When one person's silence makes you abandon your self-respect, it shows you the place that needs love. When one criticism makes you want to quit, it shows you where your identity is too fragile. Do not hate the mirror. Use it. The person who cannot hurt you is not the person everyone treats perfectly. Such a person does not exist. The person who cannot be hurt in the old way is the person who has stopped betraying themselves after being betrayed by others. This is the secret. The deepest wound is often not what they did. It is what you did to yourself afterward. You ignored your intuition. You begged for crumbs. You stayed after the pattern was clear. You spoke against your own dignity. You called your discomfort overthinking. You abandoned your own inner child to keep someone else comfortable. So healing must include self-forgiveness, not the weak kind, where you excuse everything and learn nothing. The strong kind where you say, I see what I allowed because I did not know my worth. I see where I betrayed my own body signals. I see where I confused intensity with love, attention with care, words with character, familiarity with safety. I see it, and I will not punish myself forever. I will become wiser. There is a version of you waiting beneath the habit of being hurt. This version does not chase clarity from unclear people. This version does not mistake anxiety for love. This version does not need to win every argument. This version does not perform pain so others believe it. This version does not turn every ending into self-hatred. This version watches, learns, chooses, and moves. You meet this version through practice, not fantasy. Practice when nobody claps. Practice when the old desire returns. Practice when loneliness whispers, text them. Practice when pride whispers, prove yourself. Practice when fear whispers, accept less. Practice when anger whispers, destroy them. Practice when sadness whispers, disappear. You are not commanded by every whisper. You are the one who can hear the whisper and still choose differently. This is the difference between impulse and freedom. Impulse says, I feel it, so I must obey it. Freedom says, I feel it, so I will observe it. Impulse says, I am hurt, so I must hurt back. Freedom says, I am hurt, so I must protect my clarity. Impulse says, I am lonely, so I will return to what wounded me. Freedom says, I am lonely, so I will sit with myself until I stop calling poison a home. Do not underestimate the power of silence. Silence is not always avoidance. Sometimes silence is refusing to feed a fire that wants your breath. Some people do not want truth, they want reaction. They know how to pull the old strings. They know the sentence that makes you defend, explain, prove, collapse. When you stop dancing to that music, they may accuse you of being cold. Let them. A person who benefited from your lack of boundaries will often call your peace cruelty. Your responsibility is not to be understood by everyone. Your responsibility is to not abandon truth just to be liked. Many people are hurt because they are addicted to being perceived as good. They would rather betray themselves quietly than disappoint someone loudly. They say yes while the soul says no. They smile while resentment collects in the body. They call it kindness, but it is fear wearing perfume. Real kindness has a spine. It does not need to be cruel, but it does need to be clear. I cannot do that. I do not accept being spoken to that way. I need space. This is not healthy for me. I wish you well, but I am stepping away. These are not weapons. These are doors closing with dignity. The more clearly you speak, the less your heart has to scream later. People will test the new you, not always consciously, but when you change your pattern, the old world tries to pull you back into your old role. The person who was used to your over-explaining will provoke you. The person who was used to your availability will guilt you. The person who was used to your silence will dislike your voice. The person who was used to your forgiveness without change will call your boundary harsh. This is expected. Do not treat resistance as a sign that you are wrong. Sometimes resistance means the chain is noticing it is breaking. You must become more loyal to your peace than to your habit. Habit will feel like home even when it hurts. Peace will feel strange at first, almost empty. When drama leaves, the nervous system may panic because it mistakes calm for danger. You may crave the familiar chaos. You may miss the person who hurt you, not because they were right for you, but because your body remembers them as normal. Be patient. A cage can feel safe to a bird born inside it. Let the emptiness teach you. Do not rush to fill every space with noise, messages, distractions, new attachments. When pain leaves, there is space. In that space, old grief rises. Let it rise. The heart cleans itself through feeling what was postponed. Cry if you need to. Tremble if you need to. Write the words you will never send. Walk until the body softens. Sit under the sky. You are not going backward. You are digesting what you once swallowed whole. One of the strongest practices is to stop asking, why did this happen to me? And begin asking, what kind of person is this asking me to become? Not bitter, not suspicious, not closed, but clear, rooted, honest, disciplined, compassionate with boundaries, soft without being naive, strong without becoming cruel. Pain either makes you repeat unconsciousness or awaken from it. Choose awakening. When you are hurt, the mind wants to build a courtroom. It gathers evidence, prepares arguments, calls witnesses from memory. It wants to prove you were right and they were wrong. Sometimes you were. But living inside the courtroom is exhausting. Even when you win the case, you remain inside the case. At some point, you must leave the courtroom and return to the garden. Life is waiting outside your argument. Justice matters. Truth matters. Accountability matters. But not every inner case will be solved by the outer world. Sometimes the deepest justice is that you become free while they remain trapped in the same pattern. Sometimes the deepest victory is that your heart stays clean. Sometimes the deepest answer is that you no longer need an answer from someone who lives in confusion. Do not confuse closure with explanation. Explanation can satisfy the mind for a moment, but closure is an inner decision. Closure is when you stop reopening the door just to see if pain is still there. Closure is when you accept that what happened happened, that it changed you, that it taught you, that it cost you something, and that you are still here. Closure is not the story becoming beautiful. Closure is you no longer bleeding on every page. The more you train, the more you realize that people do not hurt you because they are powerful. They hurt you because they touch something unguarded, unseen, unloved, or unresolved. So do not spend your life making enemies out of every finger that points to the wound. Heal the wound. Then the same finger will not have the same power. Imagine someone tries to hand you a burning coal. If you refuse to take it, who is burned? This is the art of non-receiving. Not every opinion must be accepted. Not every accusation must be carried. Not every emotional storm belongs in your house. You can listen without absorbing. You can witness without becoming. You can care without carrying. This is maturity.